Hey guys, it's Lane here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, today we're going to be doing a indie manga review. So there's this manga called The White Taiki, and there's 3 volumes of it out. You can buy them on Amazon. They're about 100 pages each. I think they're like $8 each, which is not a great value proposition, but it's not bad. And the author here is Tristan Hilmerson, sorry, and the artist here is Akira Hikawa. Now, full disclosure, Tristan Hilmerson reached out to me and sent me a copy of the first 2 volumes. He told me volume 3 is coming out this month, or at least it was last time we talked, so it's probably out at this point. I'll leave links down below to it in the description, but he did send it to me for free. I offered to review it, so my thought process and the feelings I have about the series are not influenced by that. However, the way that I might say things is a bit influenced, right? I might be a little bit nicer than I would be if I was reading or reviewing a normal manga that I got by myself, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm being less harsh about my rating, right? So take that how you will. If you don't want to trust it, that's understandable, but I just wanted to be fully clear about that, right? So yeah, this is self-published work, and I actually think that there's a lot of value to that, right? Like I appreciate that these guys took the time to create a story and to publish it and to try to make it work, and I think that's great. The demographic here is adult, although maybe you could call it teen plus. I'm not really sure. I would call it adult just because it's full of murder, but it's not necessarily any different from any other shonen story, right? It's just kind of unclear, in my estimation, what the demographic that they aim for is, right? It does not have adaptation, obviously, and the genre here is, I guess you could call it a Western, in the sense that it takes place in these like gold mining kind of operation towns, right? However, it is kind of like a cowboys versus samurais type of thing. And ratings wise, this is a 3 out of 5. I didn't really enjoy it, but I didn't hate it either. It was very passingly done. Like it was okay. Like it was fine. It wasn't exciting to me. It wasn't boring to me. It was just kind of, it is what it is. It was very easy to read. But there was quite a few technical issues that I felt in terms of the storytelling, not necessarily in terms of like scene to scene, but rather the connection between each chapter felt quite weak. And so that's mostly what the issue was with this story, right? So I will talk about it in a bit. And the premise is basically some sort of multi-generational type story that focuses on a group of different young men who all have some sort of opposite to them that is in some way seeking revenge on them or on a situation that ties to them, right? And so we have 2 or 3 different characters that kind of exist in this kind of cycle, right? So there's 6 characters total that interact with each other in this way. The thing is that I didn't necessarily feel that these characters were distinct enough to deserve each of their own kind of things, and the transition between one character to the next didn't really feel clear to me, because it felt like it was trying to be this sort of like Goku into Gohan into Goten kind of thing, and it didn't really feel like that worked, right? So it is what it is. But the plot line here is pretty simple. We focus on this little mining town where a young man is trying to take revenge on the White Samurai because the White Samurai killed his brother. We get to see that Charles Hendricks, which is the young man, his brother was killed, and the White Samurai announces his presence to the world, or well, to the town, and then Charles gets kidnapped. And the White Samurai reveals himself to be Yor Calvert, who was this old friend of his that Charles Hendricks left behind in a collapsed mine, and he managed to pull himself out of this wreckage and stuff, but obviously wanted to swear revenge because everyone that he knew and he thought were friends of his left him behind when they thought that they could get away with it. And so now he's out there to fight them. And so this is the last man on his list to kill, Charles Hendricks is, and so they have a midnight duel. However, it turns out that Charles wins the duel, and so Charles kind of disappears from the story, more or less, and then he is killed by another samurai in basically the next chapter, right? And then this new samurai appears in California, and it turns out that it's that we transition over to a new story this one, right? So we have Taiki, who meets Elroy, and they go out for revenge too. I can't remember exactly why they go out for revenge, but basically it's too late to kill the white samurai because he's been killed by someone else, right? However, there's a new guy that shows up whose name is White Taiki, related to the other Taiki that I just mentioned, but he's the brother of the guy that we get introduced to in the second storytelling kind of arc, right? And we get their backstory. It was very confusing. The timetable wasn't very clear to me, and the way that they managed to, like, I can't understand if they were in Japan and then they moved to the Americas, and then in the Americas they kind of struggled, or if they were already American but they lived in a place where they had Japanese newspapers, or what. It was very confusing in that sense, but basically it's the generational story ends, and now we have two brothers fighting each other, and the guy that isn't the white taika manages to win and kill his brother, and he is really upset about this, but you know, it is what it is. Then we get to see a new killer shows up, and it turns out to be Byron Culvert, who is Yoshikuni, Taika's old friend. And in this fight, they fall into a ravine, and it's kind of nebulous how it all kind of ends up there after their fight at the ravine, although the fight seems inspired by the Valley of the End fight in Naruto versus when Naruto fights Sasuke, right? So yeah, the plot line is not bad, right? If you look at each kind of story arc by itself, each kind of tale of revenge, it's fine. It's just like, it's not particularly new or unique. It's not very different from anything I've seen before. And also it feels like it misses elements of characterization that are important for us to care about these characters, right? Like, why do I care about Charles Hendricks? Why do I care about the White Samurai? Why do I care about the White Taika? All of these questions are unanswered because of the way that the storytelling goes, right? It's partially probably because, you know, this might be the first story that, you know, Tristan Himelson writes. It might be that because of the constraints of having a self-published work and not having monetary, you know, what's it called, solvency, they can't really figure out how to pay people to draw more, or it could be any number of issues that, you know, can or can't be kind of known to us as readers, right? But it ends up being kind of difficult for me to really say that I enjoyed this. I didn't hate it by any means. I think that is a good showing of like a group of creators that are on their way to grow and to become better, but it is not necessarily something that I would go out of my way to buy. If I had not been given this, I would have not ever thought to read it, and I would have never actually thought to buy it either, because of the price being way too high for such a small amount of pages, and also because the artwork is not particularly good in my opinion. It's not it's not the type of artwork that I like. It reminds me a lot of, like, you know, Newgrounds and Tumblr, like beginner artwork, and it's not bad. Like, I appreciate the effort that went into it, and honestly I think they do much better than I ever would, but that doesn't necessarily make it good, right? It doesn't necessarily make it something I want to support. And so I'm kind of left with this kind of like sad feeling here, where it's like, well, these guys were nice enough to give this to me, and so I want to be nice about it, but I also didn't like this. So I have to be honest, because that's the only way that anyone would care about my reviews, right? And so I have to say that I respect that the authors did this, that they went out of their way to create this thing, that they wanted to succeed, that they want to get reviews, even if they might not like it. I mean, assuming that this comes out, and that they need to work to make their art better, because it is not necessarily all that good right now, right? So yeah, the storytelling is a bit unclear. I don't know why there's so many characters. There should be less, honestly. I think that it should be streamlined to see the White Samurai kill all of the characters, and Charles Hendricks learn about them as it happens, and kind of try to figure out why this guy is targeting all these people, eventually realize that it's his old friend, and then have that confrontation after he knows, right? Which is kind of more or less what happened here, but it just happened so quickly. I think in like 50 pages he was dead, and that's a very small amount of time in, you know, a comic book format, right? So yeah, it's just not really worth the time and effort that it would take to buy this for me, right? Like, in my opinion, right? So that's all there is to say. I really appreciate Tristan Hilmerson giving this to me. I really am happy that he thought that, you know, I would like it. And, you know, I did like some elements to it, but not enough to make it a great story, right? So, like I said, a 3 out of 5. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just ultimately not something that I would go out of my way to pick up more of, right? So, yeah, those are my thoughts on White Taika. And it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I left, you know, information about the authors down below. If you guys are interested in checking them out or helping them out in some way, feel free to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys later.